How important is free speech? That's what we're about to hear Joe Rogan talk about. He's talking about the importance of free speech and how if you allow one side to be silenced, you don't realize that you're actually allowing yourself to be silenced. Maybe not in that moment, but eventually that same thing that you're wielding on that side, let's say to the right or to the left, will eventually come back and turn on you. That's how it works. And that's why freedom of speech is so important. I didn't know Matt Taibbi before this podcast, but he's an absolute fearless journalist. And this is episode 1940. Matt Taibbi and Joe Rogan on the Joe Rogan Experience. Of course. Let's get into it. Coach Colin, coolest high performance coach in the world. And if you want the absolute best takes and views on podcasts and videos you love, hit that subscribe button. And thank you so much for 13,000 subscribers. You have no idea how grateful I am. Thank you very much. Let's get into it.
Difficult, and it's not our job. We're going to step in only the most extreme cases, right? So the current standard is, the Supreme Court case, Brandenburg v. Ohio, which outlaws imminent incitement to imminent lawless action, right? So you have to be basically saying,
let's go get them.
Go get them. Let's,
break into the White House.
Shoot that person. That's illegal speech, right? Anything short of that, we're going to stay out of it because it's too confusing. It's too complicated, right? Like if you start getting into what's satire, what isn't, what's incitement, what isn't, like as we see at companies like Twitter, you can spend endless amounts of time building sandcastles trying to figure out what is what, and it will always end in a place where the government interprets it to its greatest advantage.
Yeah,
and that's why we don't want it. I mean, it ultimately it's not a good thing for most people. But
it's just very hard for people to realize. Even though this thing that you're talking about wielding, this weapon, will work against your enemies, it can ultimately also be used against you. That was the thing with the Patriot Act. When the indefinite detention, when they were talking about just being able to detain people, and Obama was like, don't worry, well, I would never do that. But you're not going to be the president forever. Like someone else is going to come along. And perfect example, that next person was Trump.
Right.
Well, what if someone's crazier than him? Like, what if something happens? What if there's some sort of a nuke goes off somewhere, and then everybody gets way more radicalized, and then you can get a really fucking insane, like a Stephen King character. What was that movie where the one evil guy becomes president? And
oh god, the Greg Stilson.
Yes.
Dead Zone.
Dead Zone. Thank you.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not far removed from that.
Right.
In terms of plausible plots that this wacky country can fall into. And that's the same thing with censorship. Like, they can use it against you. So, like, if you think you're using this to push back against right-wing extremism, they can use that to push back against progressive ideas that would genuinely benefit good people.
Right.
Genuinely benefit families, genuinely benefit people in need, genuinely benefit people in terms of healthcare and education. They can stop that.
Absolutely.
They can stop that if it's unprofitable with the same sort of tools.
Absolutely.
You gotta have free speech. It's the most important thing we have, and it's the one thing that separates us from everybody else. So when you have liberals and progressives that are screaming against removing people from platforms and stopping this and stopping that, understand what the fuck you're saying.
Yeah.
Well said. Understand what the fuck you're saying, because like I said and like he said, it's good. Like it's my wife. Eventually that tide is going to come back. It's going to come back, and it's going to come right at you. So you have to allow people to say the things that they want to say. Bill Burr actually had a very interesting take on it years ago. I don't think he was on a podcast. I think he was on a talk show, and he was talking about a certain people. I was going to say certain people that start with N, but that can mean different things. He was talking about Nazis, and he was talking about neo-Nazis and how they need to be silenced. And the one thing that he said, and I don't know if I agree with it, but at the same time, he did say, in terms of freedom of speech, he's like, I kind of want those people to do their salute and say what they're going to say. He's like, because I want to know who the Nazis are. He's like, I want to know who those people are. I want to know where they stand. I want to be able to see them. He's like, otherwise, they're just going to mix in with the rest of us and seem just like us. And, it's like he was kidding around, but at the same time, it's kind of deep. Like, you do kind of want to know where people stand. And the only way to really know that is to give them the platform and give them the space to say the things that they want to say. It sucks, but at the same time, it gives you the power to, choose who you're going to associate with. It gives you the power to put your arguments up against how they feel, put your arguments up against them, and it gives you the space also when people don't agree with you. It gives you the space to now strengthen your argument. What are you going to do now? Somebody doesn't agree with what you have to say because you've had freedom of speech to say what it is that you want to say. And now all of a sudden they don't agree with you so much. Now they're kind of pushing back, Now all of a sudden you have to stand tall in what you're saying rather than you not being able to say what you want to say. So what do? You find more people who think exactly like you do. And when you find more people who think exactly like you do, what ends up happening? It's just one big circle jerk. Or, more eloquently said, it becomes an echo chamber. It's not the greatest thing in the world. And when you're inside an echo chamber, at times it kind of builds up this whole thing of it's us against them. It's us who are not allowed to say what we want to say, but we all know better, versus all those people who just can't handle the truth. And then what ends up happening is those people end up tribing up, getting together. And from there, that violence that you're trying to stop in the first place, now it becomes something that's actually on the table. Because now those people have been silenced for too long, they've had enough, and now they want to stand up and it becomes forceful. So, freedom of speech, very, very important. The reason that you haven't seen videos from me in the past day or so is because I've been getting silenced in my videos. Not sure why, but it's okay. And I hope this one makes it to you. If it did, please like and subscribe, and have a great one. Peace.